Thank you for that. I'm Mike Pence. I'm from Indiana. Welcome to the conservative comeback and the beginning of the end of the Pelosi Congress, CPAC 2010. Thank you, David McIntosh, for that grossly over-the-top introduction. It is much appreciated. Thank you to the board, to Jed Babin and the rest. I got to be honest with you, though. You know, they say behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes. And my wife, Karen Pence, is sitting right there. 25 years this June. Give her a round of applause, will you, please? You know, I was really excited with this time slot. You know, they called me up and said, how about 11 a.m. Friday at CPAC for your address? And I said, man, that is great timing. You know, in politics, really timing is everything. And I was driving down the road yesterday and I heard the news that Tiger Woods would be addressing the nation at 11 a.m. Friday. Oh, perfect. But there is hope. Somebody beyond you good people in this room might see this speech. I mean, I got a Facebook page. And YouTube springs eternal. What a difference a year makes. Last year at this podium, I said that despite our defeats in 2006 and 2008, I believed we were on the brink of a great American awakening. But I had no idea. I mean, a year ago, most conservatives were still sure of our principles, but we were pretty uncertain about the future. I mean, a year ago, it seemed like there was only a remnant of people in this country unbowed by the glamour and the appeal of the new American left. At CPAC 2009, we met under a seemingly unconquerable juggernaut of one-party liberal government in Washington, D.C. I mean, Barack Obama had a 120% approval rating, according to MSNBC. No, seriously, though, his approval rating was over 65% in all 57 states. Unprecedented Democrat majorities in both houses, and unchallenged liberal dominance in the media, our courts, our public schools, our universities. It's extraordinary. It was a force that seemed indomitable to everybody that didn't know you. Now look at you. Look at what you've done. You proved Thomas Jefferson right. The people are the ultimate guardians of their own liberty. Because of you, the American people have been on the march to restore the timeless values that built this nation. A march that was first bugled by you right here in this room 1 year ago. The American people are on the march, and they're on the march to win back America. And they took that march of freedom to historic elections in Virginia, in New Jersey, and in the state formerly known as Taxachusetts. We have a Republican member of the United States Senate because of you. As we say south of Highway 40, who'da thunk it? Facing overwhelming opposition, you stood firm, and you inspired a nation. Because of you, the question of American renewal is no longer if, it's when. And your enthusiasm for freedom and limited government has been contagious. With your strong support, even Republicans in Congress have returned to the fight for fiscal discipline and limited government. I mean, really. 3 years ago, Republicans didn't just lose their majority, we lost our way. I mean, when I opposed the members of my own party and my president on things like No Child Left Behind and the prescription drug entitlement, I warned them, sometimes right here at CPAC, that if we walked away from the principles that minted our national governing majority, the American people would walk away from us. And you did. But after a year that saw every single House Republican vote against a failed stimulus bill, every single House Republican vote against a budget-busting budget, and nearly every Republican oppose big government schemes in energy and health care, let me tell you from inside the building, Republicans in Congress are back in the fight, and they're back in the fight on the right. Now, some people around here like to call us the party of no. Well, I say no is way underrated here in Washington, D.C. Sometimes no is just what this town needs to hear. When it comes to more borrowing, the answer is no. When it comes to more spending, the answer is no. When it comes to more bailouts, the answer is no. And when it comes to some health care summit that's nothing more than a photo op designed to pave the way for Obamacare 2.0, the answer is no. Conservative Republicans are back. And we're in the fight for fiscal discipline, and we're on the side of the American people. So this is what you did. You took the battles in Washington, D.C. to the streets of America. You marched to the airwaves of talk radio, to tea parties, to April 15th, to town halls, and to the National Mall on 9/12. Wasn't that something? Karen and I will never forget that day. I parked the car on the other side of the Capitol. It's a Saturday morning. I figured there'd be 10, 20,000 people out there. We come walking out the west side of the Capitol building, and my knees locked. Karen reached over and gave me one of those, honey, it's going to be okay, touches on the elbow things. I mean, it was just amazing. The throng of Americans that I saw spanning across the nation's mall. Now, I know the New York Times said there were a few thousand people gathered there that day. And Fox News Channel said there were 1 billion. Sorry, guys. But as God is my witness, as I looked out from the West Steps at that moment, I saw a sight I'll never forget. Hundreds of thousands of everyday Americans gathered on the nation's mall on behalf of limited government, personal responsibility, and fiscal responsibility. Everything that made this country great. Now Nancy Pelosi had a different view. Nancy Pelosi thought those people were un-American. Thought they were AstroTurf. But when I looked out at that amazing throng, I got to tell you, those people looked like the cavalry to me. So we've gotten a lot done. There's a lot more to do. Men and women, let me tell you, it's only halftime in the locker room. We're ahead on Freedom's scoreboard this year. But there's a lot of time left on the clock. And as my beloved Colts found out just a couple weeks ago, you better be ready for an onside kick. And they might just be kicking to the right. Bottom line, this ain't over. We cannot rest. We cannot relent. And we cannot let up until we take the American Congress back for the American people. Men and women, we got to win back America. We've got to take that hill in 2010. So help us God. So how do we do it? Well, first, to win back America, we got to stay focused. Got to stay focused. Distraction is the enemy of our success. You know, politics and the airwaves are always filled up with speculation. Who's up? Who's down? Who's next? Who's perfect? Who's not? Friends, we got to resist the temptation to look past the next election. Haley Barber said to me about a year ago, anybody that's not focused on the midterm elections don't have their eye on the ball.